For the filigree project, I wanted to show you how I started. I started by drawing a little design in a little sketchbook here. Now, I don't know if you can see this. This sketchbook's got little dots all over the place, and it allows you to line things up and get things level. So I started off by making a drawing, and then I followed the drawing. So what I did first of all was, and that's my little earring, that's my finished one, just so you can see where we're going. There we go. So what I did first of all, I took the thicker wire, the 1.1mm, and I annealed it, and I put it through the rolling mill. You don't have to put it through a rolling mill. You can do it with a hammer and a block and just flatten it out a little so that it's got a flat side for the filigree to butt up against, so that when you solder it, it's got that nice contact along there, so that the outside edge is standing up like that. And what I did was, once I'd done that, I annealed it again, and then I shaped my piece of wire around that design so that I'd got exactly the same shape excuse me, the same shape and the same size, and that's what I wanted. Now here you'll probably see that I've drawn two solid lines down there, which are these. So out of that 1.1mm wire, I also made these frames, these interior frames really, and pop those inside along with a little bezel cup. So what I did first of all, and I'm going to concentrate more on the filigree, so I'll tell you how I made the frame and everything first before we start. So what I did was I made this frame, soldered it in this corner here, and then I pickled it and filed it and got it looking very neat. I then popped in the bezel cup, and I popped that in as far down as it would go into the narrow piece, so that then I could line these solid pieces up with it, and I soldered the whole of those together. So all I used was soldering paste. I was just looking for it, there it is. So I used the soldering paste, and I put a little dab on each end of, once I've soldered that, I come back, and then now I've got my teardrop shape. So then I popped in my little bezel and my two pieces of wire, the internal sort of design, and I popped solder everywhere where it touches really. So the 2 points here where the bezel touches, the 2 points here where the bezel touches, and so on with the internal wire as well. So I then made a round, just a circle, excuse me, I just made a circle like you would make any other normal ring, and follow again, took my flat wire and followed it round and made a circle and soldered that. So then I ended up with two pieces. In fact, let's take these out. These are not soldered in, so I'm going to take those out. So I ended up with a circle, and those are not soldered in either. So let's just take those out. We can always pop those back in again after. Right, so what I've done is, so that you don't have to keep watching me repeating exactly the same thing, I ended up then with a frame with two pieces of internal wire like that and a bezel, and then I soldered it, and that was all nice and solid. So you've got a base to start working on. Now, to make the filigree, I have shown this before, but I'll go through it again. You take your 0.6 wire and you fold it in half and you twist. Now, obviously we've got the twisting tool, which I used for this, and people have got different twisting tools. We've had different twisting tools here, so whichever is your favorite, you need to twist your wire as tight as you can get it. If it, first of all, anneal it, twist it as tight as you can get it. It might even just break at the end because it's work hardened so much. Then fold it into a coil, and then you anneal it again. And if at all possible, and if you've wound it very tight, you'll find it very difficult to wind it again. But if there's still some room for you to twist it again, pop it back into the vise, into your twisting tool, whichever that may be, and twist it again and anneal. So we then end up with our twisted piece of wire. I don't have a piece of that actually. And the twisted piece of wire, we then have to flatten, as we did with the wider piece. Let me come back and show you. As we did with the wider piece. So this again, you can either do with your rolling mill, or you can do with a hammer on a block. And either which way, it works out very nicely either way. So what you end up with is that, a nice, tight, flat piece of filigree wire. Now, I've got some pieces here that I'm going to show you how you don't want it. So we've got a little bit of filigree wire there. Let me put that there. Let me move that out of the way. So we've got a little bit of filigree wire there. Show you how nice that is. If you can see it, that's really nice. That started with a very tight twist. Now, if you don't start with a tight twist, when you flatten it, you get all those bumps and holes in there. So let me pop those together so that you can see the difference in those. So that's the wrong way to do it, and that's the right way to do it. Okay, now what happens is, if you've done it the wrong way, you will get, let me bring two of these over, you will get, oh, there's it gone. Well, you obviously can see the difference. There's no doubt about it. This is very angular, and this is very, very pretty and got a beautiful edge on it. Let me pop it in my hand and see if I can show it to you a bit closer. There we go. So one's very, very angular, and one's really got a lovely little, almost beaded edge actually. It's really pretty. So that's the right and wrong way to do it. So once we've got our flat piece of wire, we need to make the little pieces of filigree. So what I used was, I just use, you can use a mandrel, you can use anything you've got, but you see that, that's got a number on it. And it's just a dapping punch that I've taken from my set, and I've taken the 6mm. And what you do is then, because this is being annealed, after you've rolled it, you then basically make jump rings. So we're just going to wind this. I'm going to do it quickly so that you can get the gist of what I'm doing. So we'll stop there. So I've virtually got a coil there now, that I've made round my mandrel. I'm going to take my flush cutters. First of all, I'm going to take that little edge off there. And then what we need to do is cut our circles. There we go. So we've got more circles than we know what to do with here. So there, that's how we start off. Now for different pieces of filigree, if you're doing a larger piece, excuse me, or if for instance you haven't put your central pieces of wire there, you've got a bigger space, and what you can do is you can make your little shapes by using the hole. I will show you, by using the hole of the, for want of a better word, we'll call it jump rings. So what we do is we just curl a little circle there. So we've curled that there. Right, so we've made our little circle there, and then just take your finger and bend it round a little bit. We then turn it over and do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. So we make our little circle like that, and then push it round, and then you can use your fingers just to push them together. There we go. You can put that between a pair of flat nose pliers, and you can flatten it out like that. As you can see, that's quite large, because what we're using in our piece of filigree, see, if it didn't have the central things in the middle, it didn't need to be this dainty. You could make it larger like that. In fact, let me see if I can pop it in there so you can see if it'll fit in there. No, it's too large. But as you can see, you get a bigger pattern and more open work. So we'll put that to one side because that's not the size we're using at the moment. So what I did was to go through and cut these in half. Now, you will need different, just do one at a time, because you will need different sizes, because we're filling in different shapes and areas and space down here. So I cut that in half, and then I did exactly the same as I've just done on the larger one. There we go. Jumping about. There we go. Because I'm trying to keep in camera. There we go. Okie doke. So then we do that again. I've got to use the very tip of your round nose pliers. You want these as neat and as dainty as you can get them. And then do exactly the same on the other side, and I'll show you the difference in the two. There we go, we've done that one. So the one we did with the whole circle ended up like that, and the half one ended up like that. Now, as you can see, that makes a much daintier piece of jewellery. So that's what we did. But as I say, I only cut them one at a time, because we are going to need different sizes, and it doesn't matter that they're different sizes. So let's proceed like that. So what I've done here, let me move those out of the way. What I've done here is filled in one side of the pendant. Now that's been soldered in, so that's not going to go anywhere. Once we've made all our little bits and pieces of filigree, we need to fill in the outer shape. But you will notice that I've got some little like fleur-de-lis, aren't they, really? They are made in the same way, but in fact I'll show you. They are made in the same way, but we only curl one side, and then we slightly, so the end of the pliers, press it against your finger and curl like that. There we go. And then we slightly straighten out the tail that we get left. And what you will see is those are going to go in this top piece here. So I'll show you how we're going to do those too. So I've got all my bits and pieces here ready. Now, when you get experienced at filigree, you can pop all the pieces in, and before it's soldered, you can pick it up and it won't fall out because it does have a tension. But when you're first learning, what you can do is take your steel block, and we've got here some masking tape, and we've got the sticky side up here. Let's put that on there where you can see it. I'll move over in a second and then you can see better. There we go. So we now curl that in, and that's actually fastened to the block. It's nice and flat, and that's the sticky bit. So what we're going to do is put our piece of filigree onto that piece of masking tape. There we go, like that. And what we're going to do now is just gently fill in the pieces. Now what I did, I started by putting 3 of these curls on the inside. So let's start by doing that. There we go. So we're going to go like that. And you might find it a bit fiddly, but don't be afraid of making the shapes slightly smaller or slightly larger by squeezing them with your pliers or even your tweezers like I've got here. And if they don't just fit in, just give them a little push and a little squeeze, and or even widen them if you've got too big a gap. So we're going to just fill this in here. So it doesn't take many. It looks very complicated when you see the finished piece, but it actually doesn't take many pieces. And you can knock it down with your nail, or the back end with filigree. The back end of the tweezers is very useful as well. We're gonna, on both sides, I hadn't got room on the outside here to put in 2 full curls, swirls, whatever you want to call them. That one's fighting back. There we go. We just pop them in like that. As I say, to be fair, the harder they're pressed in there, the better, because it'll be a more secure piece. Now, I hadn't got enough room for another one in here, and I also didn't have on the other side. So all I've put in there is the curl off the end. And don't worry about that, because once it's finished, and I'll show you on the finished piece in a second, once it's finished, that's just a circle. That isn't a curl. See if I can show you on here. Probably can't even find it myself now. Hardly at all. Oh, there it is. Let me show you on this one, on this side. So we've got our 3 on the inner side, and we've got our 1 there, but that one is just a little circle. Let's see. There we go. Perhaps see it a little bit closer there. So don't worry about that. Fill in anything that doesn't fit. As I say, nobody will notice. It's such an intricate pattern that you will not notice. So now I'm just going to turn that one round. I'm going to move those over, and I'm going to show you how I put these little, they're just like fleur-de-lis, that's all. I don't know what their real name is. In fact, you'll be very interested to have a look now that you've seen a piece built up like this. Whenever you see filigree jewellery, you can even go onto Pinterest and have a look, and you'll see the same patterns keep occurring. There's 4 or 5 different patterns that people use all the time. Let me pop that one in there like that. See how it's building up, and see how easy. The hard not the hardest part, the most time consuming part is making the little pieces. The actual putting them together is actually isn't that bad. Let's see. And it's always the last piece that's the most difficult to get in, because you've got to get that tension, and just occasionally fight back a little bit. Let me pop that on there. Come on. See if I can turn that back the other way. There we go. Come on. Help me out here. Don't fight me. Play ball for me. There we go. You'll find you can maneuver the other pieces. Just push the other pieces in and make yourself some room. As you can see, that it is the last piece that's always the worst. But it's quite fun. It's like doing a a jigsaw puzzle. The pieces all fit, don't they? But it is like a jigsaw puzzle, is in the fact that you have to fit it all together. Right, come on, you little monkey. Pop in there for me. There we go. Is it gonna do it? Yeah, it will. Excuse if my fingers are in the way, but there we go. Did you hear it click? And that is a good fit. So all those, I could possibly lift that up off there now and they would all stay in. But we're not going to do that, because we don't want to be messing around like that. Just in case, because you can guarantee if it's going to happen, it'll be when everyone's watching. So now what we do is we lift that off the block and we take a pair of scissors and we cut round the edge. Let's see if I can get that so that you and I can see it. Get rid of that. Can you see how nicely it's building up? And it's just a matter of just taking your time, breaking it down, and just doing a little bit at a time. And it's not as complicated as it looks when you break it down into little sections. As you can see, and it's quite sturdy stuck onto this. As you can see, the one side and the top are all loose. They are not soldered, and they're well behaving themselves. Now, of course, this is all going to stick to me. There we go. Let's get rid of that. Oh, it's all sticking to my fingers. There we go. There we are. Come on. And we'll just take that, snipped off that little corner there, just because we want as little of this on as possible. So what we're going to do now is, in fact, I'm going to just move this book out of the way for a little minute. Let's put that over there for now. There we go. And I'm going to bring in my soldering kit. There we go. There we are. So what I've got here is a flat ceramic block. I tend to use this, the ceramic one, for filigree, because obviously it is flat and it does keep all the little bits and pieces safe and sound. Now what I've got here is some very messy solder. Let's see if we can just tidy it up a little bit. In fact, do you know, I'm going to squeeze a little bit out on the side here. I think you can see it if I put that there. Yeah. So I'm going to just pick up a little bit at a time. We don't want too much. It goes a long way. And as I said earlier, what we need to do is solder where the joins are, where everything meets. That's where we want to put just a little dab of solder, not too much. And in my opinion, that's too much. We don't want to fill the holes in. a little bit down the centre there where that's touching, and they're all joining together. There we are. And on the second side where we've put all these in, so we just want to go down the edge, just put. Now the thing is, you can go back and put more in if you need to. That is much better than putting far too much on at the beginning, because very often you will find that there's one piece just not soldered on that wants to be difficult, and you can just go back in, put a dab more bit of solder on there, and just go in with your torch and repeat all that you've done before, but just in the one piece where it hasn't actually caught. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that back in there like that. Now what I'm going to do is just rub my finger over this like that, and I'm going to just push in that solder. There we go. And see, now we don't know if there's enough solder there or not, because I really do not want to load on there. So what we're going to do is let's just pop on the torch, and what will happen is the masking tape at the back will burn off, but that's fine. That's what we expect. So you'll get a little bit of flame. There we go, get a little bit of fire. There we go. So that'll all disappear, and then we'll go in and continue work until it's all nice and red, and our solder starts to flow. There we go. That looks quite nice. So we'll turn that off. There we go. And we'll, there we go, look, there's, you see it? There's a little bit of ash from the masking tape, so we won't be wanting that. So what I'm going to do now is just quench that. And if we had more time, that would now be pickled. What I'm going to do is just wipe that with a bit of tissue. Obviously much better if it was pickled, but you can see that is all now all joined together. Let me show you on the back. It's all joined together, and once it's pickled, it'll look very nicely. Thank you very much. Oops. There we go. Now what I've done on, I'll move this out of the, no I won't. What I'll do is I'll do the circle next. Let's see if we can just use a little bit of this. Can we? No, perhaps not. We'll just put another little bit of masking tape on there. You can't see where I put it. There it is under there. So what I want to show you also is, it's a bit, it's all a little bit squashed up trying to keep in the camera, but let's pop that down there. Ooh, come on. I'm going to just move that to one side for a moment. Come back up here where you can see what I'm doing. There we go. A couple of little bits to keep that in place. Then I'll talk you through the rest. There we go. Put that there. This takes the terrifying bit out of filigree. Right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take this little circle and 4 little pieces I had. I'm not sure which the 4 were, so I'm going to bring a few over and we'll piece together what we need. So what this makes is like a nice little flower. If you can see, I've my circle is it looks like a little daisy, and I've popped a little silver bead in the middle of it. If you can look at it from the back, you'll see that I've just got four of those curls in the circle, which is a very effective way of doing it. So let's see if we can find the 4 pieces that fit in here. So we want the curls to be in the middle so that it looks like a little flower. We need to pop just 4 in there. There we go. Of course, when you get to the stage where it does all hold itself in without masking tape, of course, once you put the solder paste on, that's another glue that holds it all together as well, or acts like glue that holds it all together. What we're going to do is pop that in there. I've just shown you, but that's the theory in that. And then you would go along and put your silver paste in again, your solder paste, I should say, and do exactly the same. Cut it out with your pair of scissors. So there we go. So that you've got your nice little daisy, and heat it up again with your torch. So I shall put that to one side because I think you've seen enough of that. Then my next stage was, don't want to put my book in that. Tell you what, I'm going to wipe that up. Still want to put my book in that. There we go. Right. The next stage is, and here's what we've got now. We've got, there's our nice shiny one. There's the one we've just been working on, which needs pickling, obviously. But I also used a jump ring. Let me show you on here. What I did was I got a 5mm jump ring, and I got 3. Let me see, how many did I get? Two of them, and I cut them in half. Oh, here they are. I thought I'd brought them over. There they are. So I got 2 5mm jump rings, and I cut them in half. And then I filed down the corners so that they're sloping inwards, sort of 45-degree angle. And I popped one on there. And then with the other 2, I popped one either side on this little daisy, the circle. What I also did was pop a little silver ball in the center there. What I did was, so that nothing's wasted, the ones I wanted to show you that were wrong, that were very jaggedy at the beginning, what I did was I melted one of those down, and it gave me that's in the center there. So I can move away from this. Let's work now on the one that's almost completed. Once all that is done, and we've done our jump rings and we've joined them together, we give it all a little bit of a polish. It looks really nice. It looks so pretty on the other side too. Look at that. If you didn't want to put a stone in, then you could use, it would be double-sided, to be honest with you. You wouldn't know the difference. So there we go. So that's what we're up to now. What we then want to do is take a stone. Now I've got the little garnet here. What we want to do is take the garnet. It's not going to do that for me, is it? Of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. Come on. Give me a chance. There we go. upside down. Okay, what we'll do is we will turn it upside down. Because what these are rose cut stones, so they're flat on the back and faceted on the front, which is rather pretty. So let's see if we can do it like this. There we go. So there we are. We've got our stone in there. So as you can see, it's all faceted on the top. And what we need now is a little pusher. And we just do the same as with any other stone. I'm just going to put my finger on top of the stone so that it doesn't move. And with these serrated edges, they fold over. If you've had trouble setting a normal bezel, then these will be easy for you, because it's just like pushing prongs over, really. Now let's and they are pushing over very, very easily. But I'll show you. I'll just push them all over, and then I'll show you how it looks. There we go. Such a pretty finish. There we go. This one at the bottom. Right, they're all pushed in now. I'll just go around one more time, just to make it nice and sure it's nice and secure. There we go. Push that one last one in. It's not as I'd like it. There we go. And one more. There we go. So basically just keep working your way around, and then you get this lovely lovely sparkle from the stone there. And if you really wanted to, you could go round with a burnisher, and you could burnish those over, and it would push them even closer and neaten them up and give them a lovely shine. Now, one last thing regarding the polishing of the piece. A good way of doing it is to take a really nice soft brass brush and give it a good old polishing like that, and that looks beautiful. The only thing left to do now on this particular one, obviously I've got to finish the other one off, but on this one is just to pop on your shepherd's hook, and that's your earrings finished. So I hope you enjoyed that.